Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet my beloved brothers and sisters here in the final call and in the listening audience in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters in the listening audience, we are blessed to have with us today on the rostrum our leader and teacher, Minister FARRAKHAN Muhammad, who, as he continues his mission throughout the world, we are blessed to have him be home with us again in the work of rebuilding the works of his father, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. As we, brothers and sisters, know that tomorrow represents a day set aside in this country to honor a fallen leader of you and me, Dr. Martin Luther King, please reflect on what the Holy Quran and what the Bible has said of you and me as a people. That we are deaf, dumb, and blind. That we have been conditioned by slavery not to know what is good for us, but only what is good to us. The Quran says we are as cattle, easily led in the wrong direction, hard to lead in the right direction. The Bible says we are as sheep without a shepherd, sheep that are lost, sheep that have been scattered, sheep that are in the midst of wolves, sheep led to the slaughter. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we must have strong, independent leadership. We need protection. So in studying our history, we have to look at ourselves. We're quick to follow anyone that calls us, even when the call is to death. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad protected us from harm for 40 years and struggled for our love and affection. And we must pray today to Almighty God that we follow the one that he gives us in our midst to take us to freedom, not one given to us by the slave master's children. Dr. King loved us and wanted a good life for us, and he suffered. When he went to Washington, he did not go to congratulate white America on what it had done for us in our 100 years since emancipation. He said, I came to dramatize an appalling condition. He said that you and me have been in suffering, and that unearned suffering is redemptive. So God always gives us a man in our midst who, though he does not have to, stands up and suffers for you and me. Booker T. Washington suffered for us. W.B. Du Bois suffered for us. A. Philip Randolph suffered. Noble Drew Ali suffered. Marcus Garvey suffered. Adam Clayton Powell suffered. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad suffered. And now today we have a man who is suffering in our midst, trying to win your love and affection, not for himself, but for the God that created you and me and meant for us to be free, justified, and equal on this planet. Not only you and me, but all oppressed people over the world. So brothers and sisters, let's not be led astray, though we have been called sheep. Let us be men and women in 1986 in the fulfillment of time, and let us back our leadership, not appointed leadership from the slave master, but true leadership that comes from God. And that leadership is with us today in Minister Louis Farrakhan Muhammad. So please let me bring for you our leader, our teacher, and our guide, one who brings us not to worship him, but to follow him, to worship the one God that deserves worship, Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Please join me in welcoming Minister Louis Farrakhan Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank Brother Benny Muhammad and Sister Ava Muhammad for your kind words. In truth, the best title that could have been given was left out, and that is brother. Leader, teacher, and guide belongs to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Brother and servant belongs to FARRAKHAN. I don't want to get out of my place into the place that belongs to my father. You may follow my guidance if I'm leading you to him and to the God that he represents. To be a brother is better than all kinds of titles. In fact, when Master Farad Muhammad was present among us, he called the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brother. And for us to call each other brother and sister is better than leader and teacher. Because we've had a lot of leaders, but we have not been brothers. We've had a lot of teachers, but we've not been sisters. So when we look at titles, they only mean something as they serve the cause that Almighty God, Allah, has put before us. And that cause is to make us brothers, to make us family. That's the one thing that's lacking among black people, is a feeling or sense or the reality of brotherhood. And it is precisely because we like to see titles that lift us above one another that we are not able to create brotherhood. In organizations, whenever you make someone president or vice president or treasurer, you are exalting one above another in rank. That has to be done in organization. But when you deal with a Negro mentality or a childlike mentality, when one is exalted above another in rank, one tends to feel that he or she is better than the other who does not hold such title as president or vice president or minister or captain or high official titles. So in organization, we strive generally for titles rather than striving for the purity of our own function and to make it work so that the whole organism might be successful. And so I would prefer if you refer to me as Brother Farrakhan, and when they call me the leader of the Nation of Islam, it's simply because they don't see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad present. But he's very present. And understand, beloved brothers and sisters, that leadership of black people is a very sacred responsibility. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and I quite agree, no good will come to us from made leadership of our open enemies. The problem of black people is so grave that it takes divine solution. And so without the intervention of the divine supreme being in our affairs, we as a people are lost. Lost in our leaders who are lost. But only are we found when we are found by God, when we submit our will to do the will of God, and then not seek to make slaves of our people by making them false worshipers of that which is other than God. This is not my subject today, but I thought I would say that at the outset of this meeting, because the aim of Christ, if we understand the scripture, and the aim of Muhammad, if we understand the Quran, is that men and women will be imbued with guidance, that you will be a self-starter, a self-leader under God. If the scripture says, let this mind be in you, the same that is in Christ Jesus. Let's think about that simple scripture. If the same mind that is in Christ Jesus is in us, then we have God's mind. So we don't seek leadership, we seek expression for what God is leading us to and toward. Now, naturally, we always have a leader in whatever endeavor we have. But if we all have the mind of the Christ, then no leader can lead us except he's more in the mind of Christ than we. We wouldn't accept him unless he or she reflected Christ's mind. And since Christ's mind is the reflection of God's mind, then if God gives us his own mind, then you don't need another leader. God is your leader. And the scripture says, I will be your God and you will be my people. Meaning that he is not going to leave the leading or the shepherding to somebody else. He will shepherd the people himself. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not physically present, that does not mean that he's not shepherding. Okay, you all understand that. But I do want you to understand. Because sometimes you may feel you're lifting me up. And in saying what you're saying, you may be tearing me down. Because I am not preaching to you to come follow me as such. I am telling you to come follow the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, some of you say, well, Elijah Muhammad is dead and we cannot follow a dead man. I beg your pardon. Jesus is not physically present. Moses is not physically present. Muhammad is not physically present. I'm talking about the Prophet Muhammad who lived 1,400 years ago. But you have millions of people following their leadership. Now, you have many people who have studied the scholarship of Jesus, the words of Jesus, the scholarship of Muhammad, the words of the Quran, and they lead in the name of Allah and they lead in the name of Muhammad. I'm not leading in my name. I'm leading in the name of Allah and in the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Other than that, you have no reason to listen to me. I would have nothing to say to you were it not for Almighty God Allah and were it not for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I really don't seek to be the leader of black people. It's coming around that way because God Almighty is making it such. But he's making a man like that because the man recognizes that he's not that, that somebody else is that. You know, I remember once there was a parable that I heard Malcolm use, and it came back to haunt him one day. In this parable, a man was a sharpshooter, and another man could hold a pistol. So the sharpshooter said, I'll stay in the bushes. You hold the pistol, and I'll shoot the game, and everyone will think it's you. Finally, the man that was holding, his rifle got so carried away with the shooting of the man in the bush that he began to believe it was him doing the shooting. He told the man in the bush, "Cool it, I can handle this. I'll take it from here." And when the man in the bush stopped shooting, and everybody knew that the man that was holding the rifle was just holding it. It's good to understand where your guidance is coming from. And it's good to understand when you are a vessel that is being utilized by God for change and are not the author of anything that you teach or what you bring, but you are a catalyst. You are an instrument that is being used. Once the instrument begins to think that it is the actual actor and not something that is acted upon, then we get in trouble. And no prophet did that. No messenger of God did that. Moses got a little carried away with the power that Jehovah gave him and lost the promised land because he misused the word I. And by the grace of Almighty God, Allah, I don't want to make that mistake. I know who I am and I know what I am. And I know that if there is any good coming from me, it is from Allah and it is from the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And if these two are problems for you, then I will become a problem for you because I will not allow you to worship me because that would degrade you and me. I will not allow you to make me other than what I really am, because then to make me what you have in your mind that is not proper diminishes your own worth and your own value. See, God does not raise a man up to make you think you are less in value by his exaltation of himself. God raises up somebody who will exalt you and show you your value. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it to me like this: I am like a piece of junk. Listen to what he said. Taken from the junk pile. Now, junk is junk. All junk is junk. You can't say one piece of junk is better than another piece. All of it is junk. Therefore, it's thrown out for refuse. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, I am a piece of junk that Allah found on the junk pile. And he took me up from the junk pile and began polishing me up to show the other pieces of junk, not that I shine and they don't, but the way I was shined up, you can shine too if you put your life in the hand of him that I put my life in the hand of. So the Honorable, all praise is due to Allah. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used his life as an example to black people of what we could become if we submitted ourselves to Almighty God and did not become proud over the guidance that would come to us, and at some point in our career begin to deny the power that makes us and made us what we ultimately would become. And so, my beloved brothers and sisters, on this eve of the holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., there's so many things I want to say to you this afternoon. Dr. Martin Luther King was not my subject, but it would be improper for me not to speak of Dr. King, since this is a holiday given to us for remembrance of this noble brother and his work. My subject is really on Master Farad Muhammad, a man that most of us don't understand. Master Farad Muhammad was the teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said of Master Farad Muhammad that Allah came to us in his person. Now, that's an issue in the world today that cannot be swept under the rug. It cannot be pushed aside. But I'm going to stop for a moment on the real subject because it will be very interesting to you when I go into it, and I won't be long, to say a word about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know, when Dr. King was a student at the Theological Seminary at Boston University, did I say cemetery? I meant seminary. Those things happen. Freudian slip, I guess you call it. Well, in those places, they do bury God in the name of teaching you about him. Dr. Martin Luther King was a very brilliant student, a brilliant man, marvelous gift of speech, but even more than the gift of speech, he had a heart filled with love, and he was really a man more for the next world than for this. Because he was a man that wanted to see strife ended between peoples and races. He wanted to see black and white get along in peace. He did not like violence. So in this incident that took place in, I think it was Montgomery, Alabama, with Rosa Parks, that needed a champion for this cause, Martin Luther King's heart, his training, his love for people thrust him into that moment in history. And Dr. Martin Luther King, the leader, was born in terms of our knowledge of him. His words were magnificent. His words were beautiful. They certainly offended white people, but not because they were meant to. What offended white people was that black folk were not going to take it anymore. That black folk were not going to sit at the back of the bus. Black folk were not going to go to a fountain that said colored only. Black folk who served in America's wars and paid taxes and bled and died to make America what it was, black folk just had gotten fed up and they were not going to take that anymore. So Dr. Martin Luther King's resistance to the old Jim Crow laws made him a symbol of resistance. And so many people gathered around Dr. King. As blacks began to resist the old laws, whites began to increase their violence toward blacks, feeling that fear and intimidation and making examples of blacks who would not bow down to old laws that were unjust. These whites thought that this would stop a movement. Instead, every time they threw a young black boy, a young black girl in jail, beat one, bombed one, killed one, the movement took on greater momentum, even as it is doing now in South Africa or Azania under the leadership of those who are leading that struggle, Nelson Mandela and his wife, Winnie Mandela, Bishop Tutu reminds me much of the Dr. King of Azania. Bishop Tutu, like Dr. King, does not want violence. He had many white friends. When you go to college, you develop friendships, or that which appears to be friendships, and people seem to understand your plight until you make a definitive stand to make change. Dr. King had many white friends, but he had a myriad of white enemies. So he instructed his followers in nonviolence. And they played a portion of his philosophy on the television the other day, where Dr. King said, if they beat me, drag me out in the night, if they kill my children, yet I'm going to love them. My love is going to overpower, in words, their hatred until we make a change in them. In other words, I am willing to sacrifice the lives of my children, the lives of my family, my wife, and your wives and your children to win the heart of white people, that they may see ultimately the error of their ways. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad took sharp disagreement with Dr. King on this, because the white people have had God and the prophets, and if their heart has not changed with the prophets, your baby dying or my baby dying, your wife dragged out of the house, my son dragged out of the house, is not going to change white folks' hatred of black people. Nevertheless, that teaching took hold, and young black people witnessed on television the more peaceful blacks were in their demonstrations, the more violent whites were. The bull connors and the fire hoses and the dogs and the cattle prods and the bombings and the lynchings and the shooting down on the highways at night, all of this was done, and some of it was even contrived in the White House. That so many blacks and whites even had to die so that a law could be passed. I'm telling you what the facts are. A lot of games were played on innocent black people. And when the laws were passed and we finally won integration, I put it in quotes because integration is not a reality right now. But under segregation, blacks in the South who could not go to white hotels were building black hotels. Who couldn't get gasoline at a white gasoline station were building black gas stations. Who couldn't ride on the front of the bus would build their own bus company. But the moment integration came, integration killed and closed down practically every black hotel, every black gas station, every black restaurant, until blacks became totally economically dependent. Although we had quote unquote integration, we could go to school with white people, yet we didn't have the economic substance anymore, nor even the will to do something for ourselves. So if we talk about building a black factory to some silly black people today who will march and praise Dr. King, they will say, if you build a black hotel, that's racism in reverse. If you have a black factory, that's racism in reverse. I say to all of you who think like that, you are a fool, and you have been made fool. Without the suffering of Dr. King and those with Dr. King, life would be much more miserable for us today. Even though it is miserable in another way. Maybe I would rather trade the misery of yesterday for the complacency of today, that you think that everything has changed. It's not proper for a white man to call you nigger openly, but it's proper to treat you like a nigger. Did you hear what I said? It is not proper. It is not ethical. It is not in the language of today to tell nigger jokes like they used to freely tell them. But institutional racism that makes blacks continue to think and act and believe inferior is still a reality, and it is more so now than before, because before you knew you had an enemy, and now you can't see him and you can't fight what you can't see. Memories are very short. The great Martin Luther King Jr., in my judgment, a born lover of humanity, did not, in my judgment, recognize the nature of that enemy. And because he didn't recognize the nature of the enemy, he used a tactic that could never change the enemy. You can't grovel at the white man's foot in love and change the white man. The only way the white man can be changed is that truth has to be hurled at falsehood till you knock out his brains. You actually, listen. You got to destroy his mind. And you cannot destroy his mind unless you know the root upon which that racist mind is built up. You don't know that root following the teachings of Dr. King. He didn't give you that. And therefore the white man can continue to smile and hug Coretta King and sign a bill to make Dr. King's birthday a holiday, and babies are dying poor, ragged, and hungry day in and day out. But you can feel good because for the first time in your life, there's a black man that has a holiday. And what the hell good is it? What good is it? So you don't work tomorrow? But the conditions are worse today than they were when Dr. King was marching. You don't know the difference between a holiday and the substance of what the man was all about. I heard Reverend Jackson on television this past week. He was pointing out they try to make Dr. King a dreamer and take him away from reality. That the only thing that Dr. King wanted was to see little black boys and little white girls hold hands together. And if you look at all of this going on, much of it is mockery. We will give you niggas what you want. Maybe you'll be satisfied. You can't satisfy an empty stomach with a holiday. You can't satisfy an empty head with a holiday. You can't satisfy an empty heart with a holiday. You can pacify a new generation of warriors. So you think. Short memories. Dr. King connected the poverty struggle of people, black and white, with the war in Vietnam. When he did that, he became an enemy of the government of the United States of America. How many of you remember that? How many of you remember that J. Edgar Hoover called Dr. King a notorious liar. How many of you remember that he was not defended by the president? How many of you remember that it was the president of the United States that had him bugged? How many of you remember that while Bobby Kennedy and them were talking love, they were bugging Dr. King and setting him up? How many of you remember that? See, I'm not going to let you forget the reality of what has happened simply because you have a holiday today. Negroes like holidays because they want something for nothing. So at last you can claim Dr. King and say, well, I don't have to go to work tomorrow, but I will get paid. And that's all Dr. King's struggle means to many, many people. Not because that's all it is meant that his struggle means, but they don't intend for you to see the guts of Dr. King. That man was a strong man. That man was an extraordinary man. I didn't see it back then. I loved him, I admired him, didn't agree with him, but I respected him because what he did, he was absolutely magnificent at what he did. Many black people didn't follow Dr. King. He had more white followers than blacks. The masses of young brothers, they were not going to turn no cheek. The young brothers in the street, you can't tell them you can drag my mother out the house and I'm going to love you. No, you couldn't tell them that in the 60s, and you sure can't tell us that in the 80s. No, no good. Dr. Martin Luther King became an enemy to the government. When he became an enemy to the government, not because he was in fact an enemy, he was the government's friend. But they saw him as an enemy because he spoke against Lyndon Johnson's war. He was followed around. Traps were laid for him. They called him a communist. You don't remember that, do you? He was repudiated. Not as much as I, but he was repudiated. His own friends and preachers, many of them right here, that will be holding big ceremonies for Dr. King, wouldn't march with him here when he was in Chicago, cussed him out, talked about him, didn't want him in their church here in Chicago. How quickly you forget. But it's safe now for everybody to embrace Dr. King, because white folks have embraced him. Now you can embrace him.
Hey, my bad, y'all. My bad for the interruption. My bad. My bad. Phone cut off. It's all good. Y'all just hold on. I'm not going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. So just hold on. And we'll be right back.
After Dr. King was repudiated and his friends turned on him, the burden got heavier and heavier for the doctor because he was lonely and distraught. And he didn't die feeling good. He died feeling sad. Go listen to his last speech. I'm not fearing any man. Why are you saying that, doctor? Because many men were out to take his life. Contracts were out on his life. When your own people turn against you, that's what hurts more than anything else. I may not get there with you, but I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you. My spirit is broken. My heart is broken. I'm on a downer, but still you can call me out. I had something else to do, but you called me to Memphis and told me that I must lead this garbage man strike. And so on the side of the poor garbage man, I will take my stand, but I had other things to do and I am exceedingly tired. But he came to Memphis to die. Killed, they say, by John Ray. But many believe it was a very high conspiracy. And many believe that the government cannot escape culpability in the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. So look, you know, I don't want us to get blind on a holiday. I want us to understand the price that men and women pay who stand up for justice for you. He didn't want to die that morning. He didn't leave his hotel saying that there's a man out there ready to kill me. I'm going to go face him. He left going to an engagement and was shot down by somebody who knew he was trapped. It wasn't quite just one man. Many, including Dick Gregory, have many sound theories on the assassination of Dr. King. The real truth may come out maybe a few years down the road, and when it comes out, you're not going to feel too good about it. Like the real truth will come out one day soon about the murder of Malcolm X. It's too convenient for you to say Elijah Muhammad did it. The Muslims did it. It's too convenient. When the real truth comes out, and I'll tell you what the real truth is, it's that same government that will give you a holiday for a man is the same government that killed the man. It's that same government. It's that same government that had responsibility in the murder of Malcolm X. Even though a black man pulled the trigger, who was the black man? Who were they since the two you got and charged with the murder are innocent of the murder? Who did it? Why won't you reopen the case since you know that the two men are innocent? It's the government. The same government that is cutting back on school lunches. The same government that talks about Farrakhan is an anti-Semite and he's a racist. It's the same government that the Justice Department will not stand up for justice for you. It's the same government that will ask for your sons and your daughters to fight to uphold it. It's the same government that murdered Dr. King. that now want us to have a paid holiday in his name. So they put an image of him up in the rotunda, I think. I didn't like the statue. Looked terrible. You made a nice looking statue of your man, George Washington. Made a nice statue of Abe Lincoln and Tom Jefferson. Why the hell couldn't you get somebody to make a nice looking statue of our brother? Whoever commissioned him, he should pay you. Mockery. So tomorrow, you'll sing songs. You will talk about you have a dream, and then you'll go back to sleep. Tomorrow, you will praise Dr. King and then forget that he stood for something. This world is something. I look at all these Negroes with Malcolm on their wall, who wouldn't walk under Malcolm's shadow when Malcolm was alive. I look at these same Negroes who, as long as there was no heat on Farrakhan, they could walk with me, be seen with me. Now all of a sudden, you have to distance yourself. But if anything happened to me, you'd be the first one with a picture on your wall talking about, I had dinner with him. I know him, man. He's my man. He was a great man. And you'll probably go down to the city council and name this alley back here Louis Farrakhan Way. Nation of hypocrites that memorialize your dead in the wrong manner. You memorialize your dead not by making holidays to their memory, but by living out the creed that they lived and died for. This is the way you memorialize Dr. King. You work to make what he envisioned reality. But was his vision reality? If you think that you're going to be around here, white folk are going to accept you and you're going to be their brother, you will wake up one day. That's not going to happen, brother and sister. Not until their mind is destroyed. You have to kill their mind totally. And I'm telling you, none of these got what it takes to kill the white man's mind. And that's why my subject was Master Farrakhan Muhammad. Although I love Dr. King and respect Dr. King, see, he could have brought about what he envisioned if he had the truth to enable him to pierce the mind of the Caucasian and uproot his mind. Kill it at the root. And you can't kill his mind at the root until you expose the root of his thinking. And most of our people don't know the white man's thinking. You don't know what his mind is built upon. And you reject Elijah Muhammad. You reject what he taught. But what he taught was absolutely sound doctrine, brother and sister. He was taught the root of this world. And you are not going to be successful until you see the root and believe and then act out your belief. Now, I'm going to say that again now. I really don't care, brother and sister, what you endeavor to do. If you want to do small things, you may be tolerated. But if you want to do big things, then you might as well prepare, because you're going to have to go to war with white folks in order to do big things for your people. And you got to be equipped for the war, and not necessarily an armed struggle. It's the struggle up here, but you got to know the nature of what you're dealing with. Believe it and act on what you believe. Otherwise, you're fooling yourself. Now, it's almost time for the broadcast to end, and I really don't have the time to go after Master Farrad Muhammad and what he taught like I would like to. But I'll just lead into it and close by saying this. Dr. King was absolutely necessary. And that man played an important part in raising the level of all of our consciousness. And even if you don't agree with Dr. King, we all should respect and honor him, because without him, the level of our consciousness would not be as high as it is. Even those of us who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who did not follow Dr. King, the level of our consciousness is higher because he gave us something to look at that raised it. He appealed to white people in a manner that, brother and sister, if you look at the way he appealed, you could not find a better ambassador of love. You could not find a more gentle man to go to them and plead a just cause for black people, but they murdered him. And that should tell you that white folk don't respect pleading niggers and Negroes. White folk don't respect kowtowing, boot licking, back scratching, knee bending, head bowing, foot shuffling niggers and Negroes. White folk don't respect you. When they make you and then call the tune and like a happy marionette, you do your buck dance. They appear to love you, but they have no respect for you nor love. White folk respect what they fear. The minute they get afraid, then you see change come. Why is Reagan sweetening up to Gorbachev? That's his #1 enemy. He's ready to pounce on poor little Gaddafi. But he's talking sweet to Gorbachev. Why? He knows Gorbachev can answer whatever he throws. Well, then, if white folk only respect you out of fear, what is it in a black man to make a white man afraid? Since we ain't got no weapons, how can we make him afraid? One thing he don't have any defense for, not even Star Wars. He cannot defend against the laser beam of truth. And it is truth that he's so afraid of, because truth exposes the root of his mind. Truth busts it up. Truth undermines his civilization, because truth shakes that which his civilization is built on, which is the slave labor of the poor and the weak and the oppressed. And when you cause a shaking in the foundation, even the beautiful superstructure comes down. It is truth that he fears. And it is truth that he has no defense against. They never called Farrakhan a liar. They just said he's a hater. Not he's a lying hater. He's just a hater. he don't like white people. I watched a television show this morning from Sweden. They sent me a tape. And Mr. Nathan Perlmutter was on the TV. And I saw him trying to get white support. Says, you know, he talks about Jews, but really he hates all white people. It's not that I hate your color. Your color has not harmed me. Your color has not killed our babies. It's the sickness of your mind. And since we know your father and we know what he taught you, and we know how to destroy your father's teaching and therefore destroy the base of your own sick mind, you fear that truth coming from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because that truth makes you see yourself as you are, strips you naked. I'm saying that to say, as I mentioned last week, that everywhere I went on my trip, governments did not receive me, people did. Now, you probably heard on the news that I was banned from England. And the British consulate here sent me a special letter telling me don't go because I wouldn't get in, and there is no appeal. Here's Great Britain. She allows in nuclear weapons. She allows pornography. She allows homosexual. She allows drugs. She allows everything of evil and will disallow a preacher of truth. Why? Because she did not want Brother Farrakhan to come to London town on a foggy day with some clear sunlight. For the white boys are nuts. Whatever color he come in, you weren't going to accept him. He can't talk this. He's got to make a demonstration that says, I am present in the world. For unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. He's a prince, not the king. He's a mighty God, not almighty. He's born, but he got enough juice to do the job. Y'all all right? Yes, sir. Now, beloved, we agree that when one comes like that, he can't talk it. So there's no sense in the person's coming saying, you know who I am? Do you know who I am? So the book says of him, he comes without observation, making himself of no reputation. He got to come into the world quiet. Come on, brother. The world is expecting him, but it doesn't know him. He comes in quiet. Since you don't know me, I'm coming without observation. It don't mean you can't see me. You just don't know what you're looking at. So you're looking but can't see. You cannot observe.
Come on, brother.
The world is expecting him, but it doesn't know him. He comes in quiet. Since you don't know me, I'm coming without observation. observation. It don't mean you can't see me. You just don't know what you're looking at. So you're looking but can't see. You cannot observe.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
See, and men of that kind of power, they can come just like we come. You don't know me. I don't know you. I can't look at you and see what's in your brain. You can't look at me and see what is in my brain. But if I demonstrate, you can say, ooh.
Yes.
Like sometimes you meet a man that's a master at his art,
Come on, brother.
karate, and you walk up on him, he's so humble, you fear you could knock him down. Look, nigga, don't tell me. You jump all in his face and he acts cool and backs up. You say, I told you that nigga was scared of me. And then you see him in a demonstration, you say, oh, I almost got myself killed.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So you don't know anybody just by looking at them. You only know them by the demonstration that they make manifest. Do you hear me? So there was no sense for him to talk because talk would not make the people believe. He had to demonstrate who he was. And how would he demonstrate? Boy, he chose a difficult thing to do. He would come to the west and he would walk among the dead.
Yes, sir.
And to show his power, he would raise one from the dead. Now that's very heavy. That's really something. And you figure, look, you know somebody that you love is dead? Yeah, a lot of people. Suppose I said to you, you know somebody that you love is dead? I'd like to bring them back for you. You say, wait a minute. I mean, I love them, but I don't know whether I'm ready to see them.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Are you sure you can do that? Sure.
Go ahead.
Where did you bury him? And if you took me out to the cemetery and I said a few words and whatnot, and all of a sudden they start coming up out that casket, either you drop dead from sight, or you would know. And this man got some extraordinary power because he can do something that no man had ever done before. Now, Master Farrakhan Muhammad didn't do that. But he did something equal to and superior to that. To show forth his power, I just want you to see something. He takes an unlearned man who only completed the 4th grade of school on welfare. He meets him in Detroit. And he teaches this man for 3 years and 4 months. That's all. And he says, well, in other words, you got it now. Go ahead. I'm with you, but I have my own work I have to do. And I will meet you at another time. And he leaves. Nobody knows where he went. He's just gone. But he leaves a witness of himself behind. And then everybody jumps on his man.
Yes, sir.
And they rise up against him, claiming that he's a false man. They bring him to prison, they chase him, they try to kill him, but after 12 years, he's out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he begins to grow right in America. The government is aware of him. They bring him before the courts and say, Elijah, you trying to make your people Muslims. He said, but your people only love sport and play and fornication and rolling of the dice and drinking hard liquor. And Elijah Muhammad looked at him and said, it has been that way. He said, trying to make your people Muslims, Elijah, is like putting pants on an elephant. He said, well, I got one pant leg on already. Now look, the judge know who he's looking at. He lets him go. Let him go and work among you, because he's made you so deaf, dumb, and blind, he don't think that any of you will listen to Elijah, because Elijah has an impediment of speech. He doesn't speak necessarily a very articulate language, so he laughs at him and thinks you won't hear him. So Elijah goes to work, right in your midst, preaches the doom of the government, and then opens up the mind of the white man and goes right to the root of his brain and said, your father made you a devil. Your father was Yaqub, one of our black scientists. Now wait a minute. All of y'all say, oh hell, that's mythology. Mythology, my foot. Nigga, the white man is here. How the hell did he get here? He's not a myth. And what produced him is not a myth. And he's a baby on the earth. Where did he come from? If you are asleep and the white man is awake, when did you go to sleep? And if a white man is ruling you asleep, you can't judge him as wise. He's not wise ruling you asleep. He'll only be considered great if he can rule you after you are awake. And there's no awakened black man on earth that the white man can rule. You dead. You got eyes, but you can't see. Ears can't hear. Tongue can't speak. You on a dead level. You live like the lower animals, though you were made to be in the likeness of God himself. So he raised one man up from the dead, Elijah. Elijah means God is with us. For unto us, child is born. The name Emmanuel means God is present. How do you know God is present? Because the blind can see, the deaf hear, the dumb speak, the lame walk, and the dead are being raised to life. Niggas who are afraid of everything and everybody stand up boldly and talk to the enemy and back the enemy up. That's what Malcolm was. He was a convict that Elijah touched. And you saw the presence of God in Malcolm X. Malcolm was different than Martin. Martin would want to get along with white folk. Malcolm kicked their backside, brother. White people feared Malcolm. They pushed and promoted Dr. King, but they condemned Malcolm until Dr. King got some more strength and started opposing the government. Then they condemned them both. Now this man, Farrokhan Muhammad, that we've never seen, but his guidance was in Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah put the guidance all out there in the public. Now you find yourself thinking thoughts that black men never thought before. It is not an accident. You don't just come up with thinking. Dead people do not think. So if you're thinking today, somebody caused you to think. Somebody acted on you or your mother. The books you're reading today have been affected by Elijah Muhammad. All your scholarship, you black nationalists that don't want to recognize Elijah Muhammad, you're not quoting all out of Garvey. You quoting Garvey, you quoting Noble Drew Ali, but you heavily copying Elijah Muhammad. But you don't use his name, you use Malcolm's name. But when you use Malcolm, you're saying Elijah because Malcolm was Elijah's student. Before Elijah Muhammad left us, he began talking very strong. Always talking strong, but this time he was talking strongly about himself. He said, you've been looking for that Jesus. He said, I am he. I'm telling you what he said. He said, you've been praying for that one. He said, I am he. Before, he would never talk like this. But in the end, he was telling you and me who he was and said to us, very straightforward, he said, in the name of Allah, I will bring down the judgment on this people. I, a black man born among you, will judge the white man. Listen now, man, I don't really give a damn whether you believe or disbelieve. But I got a job to do, and I'm going to do my job. And my job is to make his great commission known, brother. You don't even realize how great a people you are, that the Messiah that the whole world is looking for would come right up out of you. He would be a man raised from the dead, not out of the cemetery. You are the dead, and one would come up from among you that would be anointed to crush the wicked. Anointed by that great Mahdi, Master Farad Muhammad, to crush the wicked. A man with power to kill. A man with power to heal. Not a spook, not a spirit. This is why I would never change the back page of the paper that Elijah Muhammad said on point number 12 of what the Muslims we believe. And lastly, he said, we believe that Allah came in the person of Master W. Farad Muhammad, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians, Mahdi of the Muslims. Why don't you change that, Farrakhan, for what? If a man come to set down the government of America, set down the wicked, you can't say that's man's work. That's the work of the omnipotent God. And if it came in a man, then he's correct when he said Allah came in the person of a man. Because the power that Master Farad Muhammad used to raise the dead is the power of Allah. And the power that he will use to make a man worthy to destroy the enemy is the power of Allah. Now, why, Farrakhan, then, do I talk so bold? Why do I have the confidence that no weapon formed against me will prosper? None whatsoever. Some devil put it in the paper, Farrakhan looking for police protection. The day that Farrakhan called for police to protect him, you better know he's a hypocrite. The hell do I need a police to protect me? I come and go as I please. And I am protected by a power bigger than police. Can't you tell? Don't you realize? Don't you realize that something wonderful has happened among you? You didn't realize it when Elijah Muhammad was physically among you, but he's dead. He's not dead. Come on. He's not dead. You are just like the silly Christians who saw Jesus on the cross and said, oh, it's over, it's finished. Then in the day of Pentecost, he shows up. And his disciples are preaching a resurrected Christ. That Bible is not a book of mythology. It's real. But it ain't real 2,000 years ago. It's real right now, 1986. That book is real, brother and sister. The man that the book is talking about is a man born from among you. And Jesus was in our midst, opening the eyes of the blind, making the deaf hear, the dumb speak, the lame walk, and raising up a dead nation. And the same government that conspired against King conspired against the Jesus. But look how great the Jesus is. See, when they think they get rid of you, God raises up a witness for you.
Come on, brother. Go ahead.
I am Elijah Muhammad's witness. Since I am not my own teacher, didn't teach myself, I was taught by him. Then Master Farrakhan Muhammad was born and has now the key of the power over the universe in his hand. He raises Elijah, just like the book says. He becomes the Christ, and he gives him the key to kill, destroy the wicked, because the wicked are not destroyed by the omnipotent God. He gives it over into the hand of his servant to do the judgment. And to prove that that man is alive and well, 8 years ago, I started to rebuild the nation of Islam with nothing. No money. They say I had 10,000 followers. There was no followers. Nobody but me, one, and Brother Jibril. And the first one that believed in me and was willing to help me was Brother Wahid. He didn't know what was going on. He saw me come out of a room with a new light. And he said, whatever it is, Brother Farrakhan, I'm with you. He didn't know what it was, but immediately I started teaching. And he was a witness that when I woke up, I started talking about the nation of Islam, and people began listening. I had my sight again. I had my focus again. I had my purpose again. I woke up in my right mind. Look now, I'm telling you about your brother. A man that you are looking at and don't know what you're witnessing. You are witnessing Elijah's triumph right in me. I will not be defeated. They haven't got no brains in the world big enough to defeat Louis Farrakhan and what I represent. It's not that I can't be defeated, but what I represent can't be defeated. And as long as I stay on the foundation that my Father gave me, I cannot be uprooted. Yeah? I started with just a handful. My enemies were powerful. The government, Warwick Dean, his followers, they laughed. The nation can't be rebuilt. Many of the old followers that had been trained by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they would come and look at me, but they wouldn't help me. They would come around for a minute, watch, and when they didn't see me, divvying up the money with them.
Yes, come on, brother. That's right.
They said, we'll be with you, Farrakhan, just divvy up the money. I said, look, this ain't no gang of damn thieves robbing a bank, so we got to divvy up money.
Come on, brother.
You didn't ask Elijah Muhammad to divvy up no is to build a nation. You get your share, but we ain't dividing nothing. This ain't no spoils. We're not robbing the people. They come and they go back. So that nigga ain't gonna last 2 years. That nigga ain't gonna last 3. That nigga really gone now. When I mentioned in 1981 that Elijah Muhammad was alive,
Come on.
I knew I was taking a chance. Because I know you don't believe when you have a funeral and a body. How the hell can a man come behind that and say that Elijah Muhammad is alive physically? His son said, I washed his body. I know he's dead. I say, I know you think he's dead. He's alive. Have you seen him, Farrakhan? No, I ain't seen him. Have you heard from him? No, not until recently. But, no, I gotta tell you, in the month of September, I heard from him. Take it or leave it alone. I really don't care nothing about what you think. I'll tell you, you can believe or disbelieve.
Go ahead, brother minister.
You ain't worthy to lie to. I don't have to lie to you to make you my brother. If I wanted to lie to you, the truth is so much easier if I said he's dead and gone, but I'm just standing in for him. That's believable. You can accept that. That's rational.
Yes.
But when a man who is rational says something that is completely irrational, that he's not dead, he's alive, and he and the Mahdi are together, and he has been empowered, and he backs me up, he and the Mahdi. You can't defeat him. I'm in the world to crush the wicked. He'll make me able to destroy them.
Come on, brother.
That's what the Jews know about my future that you don't know. That's why they say, stop him now. Don't let the nigga get where he's going because he'll kill us all. Not me, my father. But I damn sure am anxious to help him. 4 years working hard, traveling like a man crazy, like Paul.
Yes.
And everywhere I go, there's a fire there.
Yes.
A man can't build a nation and organize people traveling. And for 8 years, I've been on like a whirlwind. And only Allah himself and Honorable Elijah Muhammad has kept the Muslims. Kept you. Because certainly my hand was not personally present. So if you didn't have the faith, you couldn't continue. But I'll be home in a minute. I got a few more ticks to make. You just watch. You won't be able to mock Master Farrakhan Muhammad. You won't be able to mock the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You that didn't know him, all of a sudden you hear about his student. Now remember, this is a student. This is not the teacher. This is the student. He don't know what his teacher knows. But all of a sudden, you hear the student. Maybe you came out, here's some meetings, but the student started becoming prominent when you saw him with Jesse Jackson. Not that I wasn't prominent before that, because I was drawing more people than Jesse before the world knew me. And that's a fact. That's not vanity, that's just a fact. when Jesse was running for president, I wanted to help the brother. Not help myself, help the brother. I can't help it if I'm baptized in the Spirit of God. That's something that eloquence don't give you. Eloquence can't give you God's Spirit. Did you hear me? There have been many eloquent men, but they don't have the Spirit of God. I happen to possess both in abundance by God's grace. I'm full of God's Spirit. You try to hide from me, I'll get you. You come in here with all kind of crazy thoughts in your mind. Don't make no difference how you come. Allah blesses me with His Spirit to touch you. It's not just eloquence, but it's something communicated from the depth of me to the depth of you. And it ain't just a mind turn on, because sometimes you may not understand all that I'm saying, but you go out and you know there's something more to that man than meets the eye. What is there to this man? Just your brother, but what is there to the man? He's a witness. He's a witness of Jehovah. He's a witness of the Christ. He's a witness of the Messiah. He's a witness of the Mahdi. This is why no matter what they do against me, look at them and look at me. Never has a black man in the history of America sustained such a withering attack as I have sustained over a 2-year period. They have never took this long to knock out a black man.
That's right. Come on with it.
But we dancing with it.
Go ahead.
We dancing with it. Talk about let's dance. Let's dance, white folks. Let's dance, Jews. Let's dance, Negroes. You're not gonna knock me out.
Come on, brother. Go ahead.
Every time they come up with a blistering attack, they say we know he's out now.
Come on, brother.
That's because the camera's focused on them. In the next minute, you see them welting in the corner under the rain of blows. White folk feel the heat of what's coming out of my mouth. They call me FARRAKHAN. Have a cartoon of me with a big cannon for a mouth. Have one eye closed and the barrel smoking, and I got somebody else in my sight. White folk know what they're talking about, brother. They're withering under the heat that's in my mouth. And that's what your Bible teaches you. You should look for a man with a two-edged sword coming out of his mouth. And I am that man. Look. This ain't no jump up and holler session. My father made me like this. And his God made me in a way that I can't let this enemy go. I'm born into the world to fight him to the death.
Yes.
Sorry about that, folks. I'm born for this. And I get pleasure doing this. This is my gig. This is my job. Look at how God works. 8 years ago when I started, there were about 10 or 15 saying that they was the leader of the nation.
Come on, let's
How many are left? Come on, talk back to me. How many are left? Ain't none of them left, they're gone. I'm remaining. Why? because I am the legitimate one. It happened the same way with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When he was left alone by his teacher, Master Farad Muhammad, many rose up to say they were the one, but in the end, wasn't nobody left but Elijah. And in the end again, ain't nobody left but Elijah. Yeah? Laughed at me, scorned me, mocked me. But I won't laugh. Not at you, who laughed at me. No, I have too much respect to laugh at people in their misery. Because Allah is bringing his chastisement down now on those that oppose me. While the dean is over there, poor fella, I don't think he's doing too good. I really don't think he's doing too good. Not health-wise, not spiritual-wise. Brilliant man didn't recognize Master Farad Muhammad, didn't recognize his father. And even though he says that he has the true God and the true faith, prove it. You can't prove it by the works. But if I came from nothing, with no followers, and when I first started speaking, some of you might have been there, at IPE, the first day I declared that I was going to stand for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there were about 200 people there that day. And when I went out to speak, sometimes there'd be 100.
Yes.
Sometimes there'd be 200. I had nobody around me. My son and my nephew was my security here in Chicago. When I went to New York, my cousin, a female, and her husband would be my security. But I was preaching.
That's right.
All of a sudden, people start coming. I don't think we did the best by the people. We did the best that we could, but we didn't do the best. Because the only way you could do the best is to be on the scene, giving the guidance that is absolutely necessary to nurture people into the faith that they have accepted. But when a man is running all over the planet, I couldn't do that part. But thanks to Allah, for those of you who understand, and for those of you who stood with me. And now when you see people coming, you don't measure my friends and followers by what's in the final call building. That would be a serious mistake. You know why? Because everywhere that I've gone, you have never heard me in a speech invite people to come to the final call building.
Yes.
Go back. My major speeches. You don't hear me going to church and say to the church, come to the final call building. I don't go to Reverend Barrett's church and tell Reverend Barrett's followers, come to the final call building. I don't go to Jesse Jackson's followers and tell his followers, come to the final call building. I appreciate the fact that you invite me to your church. That's all I need is an invitation. Because once I get the invitation, I know that what I say in your church will raise the level of consciousness of you, pastor, and your people. My aim is not to take the people from you, pastor. I want you to be a better pastor. But you can't be a better pastor until you have a better understanding. If God has given it to me through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I want to share it with you that you may share it with the people. And so people are coming up, and whether you know it or not, they have a like mind. Go check it out. Yes. Go in the street, you go in the church, a man and woman be there singing, shouting. You think that they got the Holy Ghost, they do. And a Muslim sitting there talking with him saying, oh man, it's a shame. These people just jumping and frothing at the mouth. Then when they stop jumping and sit down and talk with you, you say, wow, we think alike. How you thinking alike? How did you in the final call building think alike with people that have never been inside? It's because the same teaching that is motivating you is also in the street. It's also in the church. That's why preachers now come up and defend me. Because they've been exposed to the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they're growing up in the word. And we're beginning to think with one mind, and that's what got the Jews upset. Because they can't break that unity. I watched them on Channel 5 this morning. Did any of you see it? Jewish program. And they had Clarence Page on. Poor fella. Just need a good spanking. Jews want to know, what is it with this Farrakhan guy? But now, they want to go deeper than what they went before. They want to understand the phenomenon because they've never been able to attack a black leader and the people stand until today. So they want to know what's different. It's time. It's time. And so, beloved, in my conclusion, this man, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about, I mean, he's a powerful man. I've never seen him in my life, but I know he's powerful because he made the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I've watched my leader, and it's something to see 10 years after he's gone, I'm just learning things that he knew so profoundly that I can say like John, or like one of those disciples, I am not worthy to unlace his shoes. I am not worthy to be the sole of his shoe. I'm speaking of Elijah Muhammad. Man is just too great. And God has made him such, and by his grace, he's making me in the presence of you. And while you're looking at your brother, he's making your brother. He's making me a new, sharp, threshing instrument to beat up his enemies. I'm just telling you that. So London won't let me in. But they may find a demonstration in London so large that they'll have to let me in. In a couple of weeks, by the grace of God, I will leave to go around this world talking to Muslims and Christians, black, brown, red, yellow, and even some white. The message that I will give to the Islamic world, I guarantee you, by the grace of Allah, when I come back to America, if Allah pleases that I get back, the Muslim world will be solidly behind me. Listen now. I want you to think. It's something that the God has put in my head and in my heart that's going to turn the whole Muslim world on. And this is fear. Because when the Muslims are turned on, the whole world better look out. Because those few Muslims that are turned on got the world shook up. The Fedayeen, the Mujahideen, the Hezbollah. So people that don't care nothing about living. If there's a tyrant, they will strap bombs to themselves and kill up hundreds and die and know they're going to paradise. You say it's fanatic? I don't care what you call it. It'll bring about a change. When you love life to the point where you will allow yourself to be a slave, then you are not worthy of life. But when you love freedom and recognize that only in freedom is there life, only in justice is there life, only in equity is there life, and any life without freedom, justice, and equality is no life at all. Therefore, life must be spent in order to get those three essentials. When a man or a woman get to the point where you're ready to die for what you believe in, then you are ready to get what you want. I say it again, when you're ready to die for what you believe in, you're ready now to get what you want. You want life, but you're too damn cowardly to get it. Talking to you men, because a coward won't get a damn thing in this world. We want to be big men, but you don't want to challenge the big men. You get satisfied with just enough to feed yourself and your family. So you can get a car and a house and a yacht and a baby plane and tell people, yeah, I'm a prominent black businessman. Yes. That's the problem with Johnson Publishing. That's the problem with Johnson Products. That's the problem with Motown. That's the problem with black business. You get enough to be comfortable, and if you go anymore, they threaten you, so you get satisfied because there's no army there. Just give me a few days. I'll have the army in place. So if you want to become a billionaire, go on and make the money. We'll back you up. You can't do business without an army. You gotta have men that will keep your trucks rolling. When they say strike. You gotta have an army that will say, no, it ain't gonna happen. And be ready to squeeze off several rounds to make sure. Yeah, you're not going nowhere all pumped out, brother. With a straightened up head. Come on, brother. And a strung out mind. Cocaine. Die like a man. Die like a man. Don't die with a damn needle in your arm. Die like a man. Fighting for that baby in your arm. Die like a man. Martin Luther King said, there's some things in life worth dying for. You don't have anything worth dying for, it's really not worth living for. I think freedom is worth dying for. Evidently, I'm not wrong, because all of the nations of the earth die for freedom's sake. And right now in South Africa, little children are dying for freedom's sake. When they followed Martin Luther King and they were shot and raped in prisons, they suffered for freedom's sake. When Dr. King marched, he marched for freedom's sake. Not a freedom for black people to oppress other human beings, but a freedom that we could enjoy what God has given us as our birthright. Freedom. Martin Luther King is dead, but he's not dead. He's alive. Because the principles of justice that he struggled for, you cannot kill with a bullet. Martin Luther King lives in those whom his principles that he lived for live in. So we don't have a holiday to celebrate the life of a man that is gone. We celebrate the life of a man that is present. Is he present? Yes, sir. He's present if we have caught the principle. Dear Dr. King, you will see black and white together, but not in this world's life. That you will see after the power of this world is destroyed. Because this world's life is geared to make black inferior and make white superior. And this world's life has to be destroyed in order that the kingdom of God may come in, where color will not be something that men or women think about. Unfortunately, in this world, we got to think about color. Some young white Muslim in London told Brother Akbar, I like Farrakhan's tape at Madison Square Garden. 80% of it I can agree with. It seemed like to me he's preaching to black people a form of black nationalism. And that I can't go along with. So I told Brother Akbar, tell him, is not Islam for the oppressed? Was not Prophet Muhammad a man that fought for the oppressed? Are black people oppressed? And what oppresses them? Are they not oppressed by a wicked mentality that makes them believe that they are inferior? And how can I call them to God unless I call them and make them understand that God did not make a mistake in making them black? So don't talk to me about what Islam is. I think I know what it is a little better than you. Right, boy? Don't tell me that Islam has no color in it. That's a lie. The God of Islam is he who created color. How come there's no color in it? But true Islam does not measure anybody by their color, but that is not the reality. The reality in Islam is that people are measured by their color. And that's unfortunate, but Master Farad Muhammad will end all of that. And if you listen to my tape from Madison Square Garden, I begin the end of that myself. With white Muslims sitting on the rostrum behind me. I made them happy in the beginning. And when Muhammad said there's no superiority of the white over the black or the Arab over the non-Arab, you could see them all saying, yeah. That's because they know they are superior. They're in a superior position over black people. So you can talk about the non-superiority, but they don't care what you talk. The reality is white Arabs rule. Yes, white Christians rule. Yes. White Jews rule. Black Jews subordinate to white Jews. Black Christians subordinate to white Christians. Black Muslims subordinate to white Muslims. That's the truth. You ain't in no position. Big shot niggas. Cardinal so-and-so. They let him in. And he kissing the papa. He won't hardly be Pope. Poor black Jews from Ethiopia. They're in Israel catching hell. white rabbis don't want to recognize them unless they allowed a white rabbi to baptize them. And that white rabbi was not a Jew when they were Jews. That white rabbi just became a Jew yesterday. He's not a Semite, he's a European convert. Racist. Some of these white Muslims are saying that when the stone, the Kaaba, fell from heaven, it fell from heaven and it was white in color. It really wasn't black. But when they put it in the corner and the people would come and kiss it, and they would come there thinking they would get rid of their sins. Then they would pour their sins on the stone, so the stone turned black with the sins of the people. Yeah, they teach this. Racist pigs in the name of God. Boy, but if I meet them, and I'm going looking for them. Because see, Master Farad Muhammad and Army Elijah Muhammad gave me a message for them that they cannot defeat. Black man, you're the original creation of God. Your time has come. The Messiah has come up out of you. And I am a sign of him, a student. And they scared of the student. What will they do if they see the teacher again?
Yes.
And now the student is here. The student is here.
Yes.
And some of those that I teach are out there tearing his kingdom up.
Yes.
What he was telling me is, boy, you don't have to go too much anymore.
Come on, brother.
Just cut loose the people that's been sitting around you all these years and let them do what you do. And you get on and do the work that you're supposed to do now, and that work is making a nation. So, beloved, I thank you very much.
Thank you
for listening. And I pray, Allah, as I leave you, that you will honor Dr. King in the best way possible. That is to make a careful study of the man, his philosophy and teachings, his strengths, and draw from that. Sit down with your children and talk to them about him. Tell them the truth. Don't talk to them about just that I have a dream. Tell them how he was hated. Tell them how he walked in Cicero and was stoned. Tell them how the mayor didn't want him here, Mayor Daley. Tell them how the preachers turned against him. And tell them that the same thing they did to Martin Luther King is what they did to Jesus, and what they did to Malcolm, what they did to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and now what they're doing to Louis Farrakhan. And maybe 10 or 15 years from now, they'll be saying, Farrakhan, he's sure a nice man. And they'll forget all about these days that they was giving me hell and plotting against my life. Tell your children the truth. And then don't leave it there. You be what you admire in Dr. King. He's an example of what you are. You are already great. You just have to manifest. Submit to God and let him polish you up.
If y'all like that, hit that like button. I would say hit
I
that.
do this with most heart. You have no idea the kind of speaking schedule that he's been keeping over the past few months. Most of us would have fallen to the wayside and quit and said, forget it. If you knew the kind of speaking schedule he has been keeping and is keeping. And for him to consent to come to Gary, Indiana at our invitation and speak to the people and help us and help you lift ourselves up. I mean, I feel most humble and appreciative to Almighty God Allah for that. And with that deepest gratitude, I now bring before you our brother, our friend, our leader, our teacher, our guide in this dispensation of time, Minister Louis Farrakhan. In the merciful, one God, to whom all praise is due, the creator of all things, revealer of all truth, sender of all prophets. To him alone do I submit and seek refuge. I thank him for sending Moses and the Torah, or what is called the Old Testament. I thank him for sending Jesus and the gospel. I thank him for sending Muhammad and the Holy Quran. But if I lived to be 1,000, I don't think I could ever thank God enough for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide who has made the Torah, the Gospel, and the Quran relevant books for an oppressed people here in America and throughout the world. I'm speaking of the man who taught me what I am about to teach you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. And this means peace be unto you. I'm very, very happy and honored to be here in Gary once again. I must confess it has been 7 years since I last spoke in Gary. I believe it was 7 years ago. And the time goes so fast. And so many things have happened to Gary and in Gary in the last 7 years. Gary potentially is a great city. But like all of the cities of America, Gary is suffering. We don't come tonight to add to the suffering, but we come to hopefully offer something that can relieve the suffering. The scriptures teach in the book of Hosea, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Ignorance is our worst enemy. And as long as ignorance prevails in our communities, our enemies will always be able to manipulate our ignorance and make us destroyers of ourselves. I want to thank the Reverend Farris Evans and the Park Row Missionary Baptist Church, its membership, deacons,
trustees, for the honor and privilege of allowing us to be here tonight to talk to our brothers and sisters here in Gary. Sometimes when our pastors are bold and take a bold step, they are castigated for it by others who don't understand. But for those who would castigate Reverend Farris Evans, I would hope that you would be wise enough to withhold your judgment until after you hear the man that he has permitted in his pulpit. And I'm sure that if you're intelligent enough to not judge before the facts, but after the fact, then you will thank Reverend Farris Evans over and over again for allowing this sacred house to be the host of a sacred message. I want to thank our dear brother minister, Sabir Muhammad, who has been working very hard here in Gary with great opposition to try and get a message of truth to our people. And I want to say to Brother Sabir, we are very grateful to you and your family and to the believers here in Gary for your hard work. I want you to look at this brother and get to know him. For after tonight, you're going to say, boy, I really thank that brother for bringing our brother here to Gary. He's the one that invited me, and it is on his invitation and the strength of his commitment that I came. Let's give him another round of applause. Now remember, we're in the sanctuary. And while we can be happy, it's a place to shout and it's a place to clap, it's not a place to whistle. Okay? Now, I said something is wrong with Gary. I didn't say anything you don't know. We all know that something is wrong with Gary, and something is wrong with Chicago, and Detroit, and Cleveland, and New York, and Los Angeles. I was down in Mississippi just about a week ago, and there in the cotton field in Greenwood, Mississippi, we were speaking. And in that little area in Greenwood, Mississippi, and Greenville, Mississippi, the same problems that we have in Gary and Chicago are now in little cities throughout the South. Black people killing one another. One American kills another every 28 minutes. Think about this. One American kills another every 28 minutes. In the last 20 years, homicide in America has doubled and has become a major cause of death in the United States. In 1978, homicide was the 12th leading cause of death in the nation. It was the fourth leading cause of potential years of life lost to persons between the ages of 1 and 64, ranking after unintentional injuries, cancer, and heart disease. However, during the 9-year period from 1970 to 1978, victims of homicide were disproportionately represented by males, by blacks, by Hispanics. 78% of all homicides were men. And now, in 1980, which is 10 years ago, homicide rates for black males in the United States were higher in every category than for any other race or sexual group. Homicide for black men higher than for any other age or sex group or a racial group, black men leading the way. Recent studies indicate that in America today, one Caucasian female has one chance in 606 persons of becoming a murder victim. I'm going to say that again. A white female has one chance in 606 of becoming a murder victim. A white male has one chance in 186 of becoming a victim of murder. That means for every 186 whites, one person in that 186 may be murdered. But for the black female, 1 out of every 124 has a chance of being murdered. But the black male has one chance in 29. My God. The black male, count off 29 men in here, and 1 in 29 may not live to die a natural death, but will be murdered, and 95% of all the murders of black men are caused by black men. Now, pastors, political leaders, this is a tragedy that no one is talking about. We are not screaming about what we are doing to one another, but we will put up picket signs and march when a white policeman kills a black man. But when we kill one another, there's no outcry. And every weekend, we are sending young black men to their graves. And over 60% of the crimes that we commit of homicide against each other are drug-related crimes. 13% deal with family squabbles. Suicide is up. And even though we caught heck in slavery, we didn't commit as much suicide under the slave master than we are committing in the cities and ghettos of America. What is happening to black people? What is happening to the black man? That we have now become the #1 rapers, robbers, shooters, beaters, and murderers of ourselves. With churches on every corner. Come on now. People with signs out saying, Jesus saves. And yet our people are dying right under our feet, under our noses, and we don't have the power to stop it. The condition of black people in America is a witness against the homes. It is a witness against the schools. It is a witness against the churches. It is a witness against the politicians. It says that we all have failed. Because if we have what we think we have of knowledge, of the power of God in Scripture, why can't we make a better people? Good point. If you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears, we ought to be able to judge an educational system by what it produces. And if we are the product of the American educational system, and over 40 million Americans are considered functionally illiterate. Think about it. 40 million. And many of those 40 million are us. Over 1 million young people drop out of high school every year. And 25% of those who graduate cannot read above the 8th grade level. Right. Ill prepared to do anything in terms of development of self or community. As we look at Gary, a city that was allowed to die because racism was so poisonous and pervasive in Gary that when the black people who lived in Gary decided to vote in a black mayor, the businesses moved out of Gary, formed a new township, took the money away from Gary. Set up Merrillville and other communities. And then the tax base began to erode. And Gary could not deliver the services to the people that it once did because there was no more tax base like it was. The federal government began to cut back aid to the cities. Industry began to close down. And so you got a community full of people that want to work but don't have any jobs. No black man can feel like a man without money in his pocket to take care of his wife and his children. There were 45 murders in Gary throughout the year of 1989. And as of today, in the 7th month of 1990, there have already been 46 murders. It is not that the people just want to kill one another. Right. But there's so much madness and frustration in our community. There's so much hopelessness and despair in our community. Over 60% of the black homes are headed by a woman. But there are children in all these homes which says a man was there at one time. And it has been proved that as jobs decrease, men leave their homes. And it is as proportionate as the job market goes down for black men, more and more homes become headed by black women. Men leave their homes and allow their women to go on welfare. In all the major cities in America, not in Gary, there are fine buildings going up in the downtown areas. Travel throughout America, every downtown in every major city is being rebuilt. That's right. That's right. That's a fact. Yes, sir. They say it's creating jobs, but it can't create jobs for 40 million who are functional illiterates. A functional illiterate cannot fit in a high-tech society. That's right. Jobs are moving out of the cities into the suburbs, and out of the suburbs, out of this nation, into foreign nations where cheap labor can be used. So the poor man who just wants a job to be able to feed his family, don't mind working hard, can't find those kind of jobs today because those jobs are no longer available in the cities of America. Who is at fault? Good question. Listen. Can we fix some blame somewhere? Will it mean anything to say who is at fault? We got a problem. Whoever is at fault, we got the problem. And whoever is at fault, if we have the problem, then we have to develop the strategies and the solutions to solve our own problems. We voted out Mayor Hatcher. We voted in a new mayor. Many say he's a good man. Well, you voted for him. So he must have been good for you. You chose him. Now, the poor man wanted to develop a tax base so that he could give to the city the services that you weren't getting, that were diminishing, which was not Brother Hatcher's fault. But people vote their stomachs rather than their hearts. That's why Violeta Chamorro is the ruler in Nicaragua and not Daniel Ortega. Daniel Ortega has the heart of the people. But America put so much pressure on the economy of Nicaragua that Nicaragua could not survive economically. Daniel Ortega wanted to get better relationship with America. Yes, he did. So America said to Ortega, let's have free and fair elections. Right. And if you do that, we will consider warming up the relationship. And when he agreed to that, they sent millions of dollars from America into Nicaragua, yes, to buy the election. That's right. They weakened the economy but the people don't know where the real enemy is. They throw the stone, hide their hand, and then the person that's out front got to pay for what somebody else is doing. Now, Mr. Bonds wanted to set up gambling. I think the Bible is against it, and the Quran is against it. But when you don't have any means of giving service to the people, you'll follow any way that will make a way out of no way. So the mayor hitched his car to gambling, and when it fell through, his heart is broken. Because if there's no money, he can't deliver on the promises that he made. You got a beautiful airport facility out here that should be developed. It will bring revenue into Gary. Steel mills closed down. Poor people that look to the steel mills for their economic salvation. Now, no steel mill in Gary. Steel mill closing down in East Chicago. Jobs leaving the city. And what's left? Young black men looking at their fathers. Fathers trying to collect unemployment. Trying to live off of nothing. Doing little odd jobs. And then a smart, crooked deceiver comes and say, hey, man, you don't have to be subjected to this. Here, sell this. It'll ease your pain and the pain of your community. So you got more crack salesmen in the black community than Amway, IBM, Mary Kay, Fuller Brush, Avon. Not because our people want to sell drugs. Our people want money. Because in this world, nobody can make it without money. And if nobody's providing a means of employment for the people, then they will resort to crime. And don't tell the people, thou shalt not steal. When my stomach is hungry, don't read me that law when self-preservation is the first law. When a man is hungry, he will steal. When a man is hungry, he will kill. That's right. Listen. I have seen and you have heard and seen when men have been in an airplane that crashed in a remote place. Some of them have watched each other, waiting for one to die, so they could have something to eat. Don't tell me that you won't eat your brother. If you will eat your brother if necessity calls for you to do it, then what will you do when you see your mother with no food? Your baby brother and sister with no bread, living in a shack in Gary in the wintertime, and there's no heat, and the gas company does not care and the electric company does not care, then people get the spirit in them, well, if nobody cares, then I'll get me a gun. I don't care either. So you got a whole nation of people that have lost the spirit to care for themselves and to care about their neighbor. It is dog eat dog. This is the plight of Gary. This is the plight of Chicago. This is the plight of Harlem, New York. This is the plight of Washington, D.C. Black people feeding on one another, destroying each other, while in the other side of town, white folks living well. They have little problems, but they get service in Maryville. They have a tax base there. Their garbage is collected. They get police service while you cry out. Your policemen, many of them corrupt, not because they have to be, but it's the way of life in the ghetto now. You pay off the police and you run your drugs. You know this is going on. I read about a drug bust here in Gary. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever read in my life. And you had the nerve to put that in your newspaper as some big thing that you found. 5 packets of heroin, 5 packets of cocaine, $800 and 2 pistols. What happened to the drugs that you seized? And what happened to the money that you seized? The drugs go right back into circulation, and the money goes into somebody else's pocket. Because drugs is so pervasive today. It buys senators and congressmen. It buys mayors and governors. It buys commissioners and policemen. It buys its way because drugs is the biggest business in the world today. I don't mean to make anybody uneasy. I'm serious. I don't want to make you all uneasy. But let me say this. Brother Farrakhan, don't invite me no place if you don't want to hear the truth. Because I don't know nothing to do but to tell the truth. I once heard Malcolm say that if you throw a stone in the midst of a bunch of dogs, the only one that hollers is the one that got hit. So if you're innocent, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you're guilty, I'm here to tell you, straighten yourself up. Because a whole community is dying because of corruption. The gross national product of Russia was second only to America, $1.8 trillion. But the drug market internationally is 1.6 trillion, which means that drugs has become a superpower. The drug merchants buy superior weapons. That's right. The drug merchants have sophisticated electronic equipment. It's big business. And we are the ones that are paying the price so that a few of us might live better while the rest of us die in misery. This crack cocaine, it is a chemical manufactured. It is manufactured to give pleasure to the pleasure centers of the brain. I used to think, Reverend, that drugs was unnatural. We don't need drugs. We need air, water, milk. We need bread. I didn't know that there's a human need for drugs. What do you mean, FARRAKHAN? Just wait a minute. There's not just a human want for drugs. There's a human need for drugs. This that God gave us, the brain, it is a drug factory. Come on. Sir, listen. Go down by the cemetery one night. Walk in, but there's a fence around it. And let some strange sound come up. And you begin to feel threatened. Don't tell me you won't get over that fence in a single bound. If you've ever been frightened, you can run faster when you're frightened. You can fight harder when you're frightened. You can jump higher when you're frightened. Then the next day you go back to the same fence that you got over the night before, but this time you're not frightened and you wonder how I got over. What made you get over? It was that the brain produced the chemicals that gave you that superhuman strength at that moment to do what needed to be done. It is the brain that produces a chemistry that makes you go to sleep. It is the brain that tells you it's time to wake on up. When you're under undue stress and you're receiving pain, it is the brain that produces something like morphine that eases your pain. When you suffer ordinary trauma or shock, like the death of a loved one, and you need comfort, the brain produces what you need. And that's why you survive the loss of mama, the loss of your husband, the loss of your wife, the untimely death of your child. When the trauma hits you, you don't think you can make it one more day, but the brain, that which God created, gives you what you need to go through the trying times. But you know what? That's normal stress. But when you have coming from the outside pressures that are not normal, stress that is not normal, producing shock and trauma that is not normal, you deplete the supply that the brain gives. Then you need an external handle it anymore. And you don't know why you can't handle it, but you've depleted your mind of that vital chemistry that keeps the balance. And so you go to a doctor and he prescribes a medicine, and it is a synthetic representative of the chemical that the brain produces. And then when you ingest that chemical, all of a sudden you can handle things again. And then they tell you, you got to keep taking this medicine for the rest of your life. But when you start demanding something from the outside, and the doctor prescribes, here, take this Valium, it'll calm you right down. I met a doctor one day, and this is no lie, I won't call his name. That doctor is a master of drugs, you hear me? I was on the road, brothers and sisters, and I was teaching every night in a different city. And I came back to Chicago and I went to see this doctor. And when I got in his room, I was beat up. He said, brother, he broke off half a pill. And he said, take this. I trusted my doctor. He gave me some water, and we talked for a few minutes. When I looked in the mirror, I looked young, you know what I mean? I said, that's some people. They go, oh man, look young. I'm not lying to you. When I looked in the mirror, I knew I looked 15 years younger than when I came in that man's office. He said, Brother Farrakhan, if you're going on the trip, take this with you. I ain't lying. I had a bag. If they had arrested me, I don't know what was that stuff. But that man said, you tired, take this one. But after you finish, you want to go to sleep, you take this one. So I was fired up for that one. What they were is uppers and downers. But I didn't need that stuff. When I got out to California, I was at Stamford, Connecticut. And I realized this thing here was making me an addict. I don't need this kind of stuff. I threw the bag away. When you trust your doctor, the doctor is the person that you say knows. What he was doing was giving me pills that are synthetic representatives of what the body naturally produces if the body is healthy and not used up. What am I saying? I'm saying that there's a need now in America for drugs, because America, more so than any country on earth, is the drug consuming capital of the world. Though America has better roads, better streets, better transportation, better communication, better lifestyle than any country on earth, yet there are more drugs consumed in America than anywhere on earth. Do you know why? In the Quran, it reads, surely the shock of the hour is a grievous thing. The day you see it, every woman giving suck will forget her suckling, and every pregnant one will lay down her burden. And you will see men as drunken, but they will not be drunk. Surely the chastisement of Allah will be severe. What are you saying, Farrakhan? America is under divine chastisement. And the chastisement on America is so great that you are calling for what your body can't produce. Since you lack the faith that would stimulate the brain to produce whatever you needed, when your faith is gone, then you can't produce from your body what you need in the name of God to go through what God is bringing about. Look at this now. So when the shock of the hour comes and loss is coming, loss of power, loss of prestige, loss of jobs, loss of your mind, loss of friends, loss of the ambitions that you dreamed about as a young man, you're disappointed because everything you wanted to see has failed in front of your eyes. In the package store it says here, take some Courvoisier. Here's some J&B. Here's a reefer. Here's some coke. And everybody right now is drugged up. That's right. You get on an airplane, you have to pray. You pray normally, you know, but when you look at the pilot, you wonder, is he high? Will I make it to my destination? They say, take the bus and leave the driving to us. But we have to look at the bus. And the one who wants us to leave the driving to him, we wonder, has he been high? We start off on a journey and end up in a ravine. Take Amtrak. End up in a ditch. The engineer high. Right. The pilot high. Right. The preacher high. Oh yes. Preacher snorting coke today. Yeah. It's true. It's true. Politicians. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. Judges. That's right. Lawyers. Right. Doctors. Right. Doctors drunk as a hoot owl. Trying to perform an operation. Talk to me, Doc. I'm not joking. I'm not playing. Everybody high. Come into Gary, the building stop swaying. So much dope being used. Can you imagine them jumping on Mayor Barry? Right. And some of us joined them. Isn't this shame? Sure it is. I was giving an interview to the Washington Times, and they said to me, Minister Farrakhan, we hear you've been married for 37 years to the same woman, and you have a good reputation, and we want to ask you, as a family man, as a man that has stayed with one woman for 37 years, do you think that a person who is a substance abuser and a womanizer should hold public office? I said, who are you talking about? John Kennedy? Their mouth fell open. They said, no, I meant Mayor Barry. I said, well, let's start with John Kennedy. I said the members of the press knew the man was having orgies in the White House. Y'all didn't tell that. Y'all knew that Eisenhower had a mistress. You didn't tell that. Y'all knew that Delano Roosevelt had one too, but you didn't tell that. Y'all knew that the presidents, many of them didn't like J. Edgar Hoover, but they never could get rid of him. Because Hoover is a vacuum cleaner. He picked up all the dirt. Hoover had the goods on all the presidents, all the president's men, the leading members of Congress and cabinet, and that's why J. Edgar Hoover was there to serve under more than 6 presidents. Where are those films? Let us see what y'all white people do. Since you want to show us what Mayor Barry was doing, let us see what you've been doing. And of course, well, brothers and sisters, I'm suggesting with that there's a natural need for drugs. But we don't need to go to a drug man to get it. We need to enrich our lives by developing the faith that only God can give. And when we develop faith, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. Faith is substance, and it is the essence of things. You can't produce a thing if you don't have faith. Faith is the substance of the thing that you hope for, but the evidence is not yet in reality. Listen to me good now. People poor, ragged, hungry, naked, and out of doors. You're not poor of money. You're poor in faith. That's what I'm coming to. Listen to me now. Please. Please. What do you mean, Farrakhan? I'm poor in faith. I goes to church every week. And I reads my Bible. Don't tell me nothing about I'm poor in faith. Show me a man with faith, and I'll show you a man with works that bear witness to his faith. If you don't have no works, you can read the Bible all day, read the Quran all day. These books are instructional. These books are wisdom that feed the essence of God within the human being. Don't say you have a Bible and won't read it. Don't say you have a Quran and won't read it. A jackass can have books on his back, but when it gets up the mountain and it's not going to be an intelligent scholar, it's still going to be a jackass because the jackass can't read. Do you understand? I'm not being vulgar. I'm not being vulgar. Jackass is a name for a donkey. I could have said donkey, but jackass was a much more picturesque word. But you all understand what I'm talking about. So having a Bible in your house ain't gonna make you wise. I got it. Where you got it? Up on the shelf in the attic. Got dust on it. That's not going to help. Where's your Quran? I got it in the house. I put it on the top shelf because we're supposed to respect wisdom. We put it up high and never reach for it. Faith, the substance of things hoped for. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Do you know babies have more faith than we grown-ups? Prove it, Farrakhan. Sure. When that baby is born, the baby cries. That's the baby's first prayer. When the baby cries, it expects to be heard. Was it? Was the baby heard? Evidently. We're here. Somebody changed us. Somebody fed us. Somebody clothed us. Somebody heard our cry. The cry of a baby is its first prayer. It is calling out. Please, I just came out of a bag of water. It was warm in there. This is a strange environment. I'm afraid. Somebody help me in words. And somebody goes and answers that baby's need. The prayer was answered. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. Now you put that baby on your breast. Nobody has to teach the baby how to pull on the breast. The baby seems to understand you got to work your faith. You put that baby on the breast, and there's no milk there yet, mother. But the potential is there. That baby begin to work. That baby begin to pull. And after a while, faith, the substance of what it hoped for, the evidence of what was unseen. Evidence of what was unseen. And now a drop of liquid comes into the baby's mouth. And faith was rewarded by work with substance. Now, you did that as an infant without knowledge. Instinctively you did that. Now you're a grown man and a grown woman in God's universe, which is his own mammary gland. This is God's gland. But you're in his universe, full of whatever you need to make life livable. It's all above you, beneath you, and around you. How dare you say I'm poor? How dare you say I ain't got nothing? You don't have the faith that would allow you to pull on this universe. And if you pull on it, it'll give you what you want. And can no white man stop what God has ordained? So don't put it on him. You better go look at yourself now, because you're in your own way. Yeah. I want you to hear me.
Now, you know, white folk make it awful hard for us. So what? They ain't God. Your problem is you depending on them. And when they fail you, you don't know what to do. Because they've been masquerading as a God beside God. And you went for the okie-doke. You thought they were God. Now you're angry with them because you know they're not God. They never were God. He put a little contraption up and you marvel. Oh, look, it's a Sputnik. Look at it. Isn't he marvelous? He's wonderful, isn't he? Look at that jet plane. Negroes can't do that. I know the white man will give me a job. He's doing everything else for everybody, and I know he's gonna give me a job. Then when he says, I'm sorry, I've given it to Sandy McClellan, my white sister. You said, why, you racist, you. I'm taking you to the anti-discrimination court. That's what I'm going to do. In fact, I'm going to organize a picket line. For what? Because a white man is looking out for himself? What is the matter with you that you won't get up and look out for your own self? We can't teach our people to be 1990 beggars. Get up from being a beggar. You are an ancient man and woman. Your fathers were here long before the Caucasian was a thought. Why now do you think you have to depend on them for life? Go ahead. You should be ashamed of yourself. He put up a little contraption. And you marvel. Well, marvel at this. You came up out of one. And it produced you. Think about that. And before long, it'll claim you back to itself. God has no waste problem, no recycling problems. He recycles everything. You marveling at a Caucasian who got garbage running up and down the Atlantic seaboard because he can't find no place to dump garbage. While God, the master economist, don't waste the feather from a bird. Don't waste the carcass of a spider or an ant. Magnificent earth. 7,926 miles in diameter. 24,896 miles in circumference. 57,255,000 square miles of land. 139,685,000 square miles of water. The square mileage of it is 196,940,000 square miles with a weight of 6 septillion tons. How much do you weigh? Lightweight? So don't throw your weight around. I'm a heavyweight. Shut up. The earth is a heavyweight. And it's floating in space. It is not upheld by pillars. It is a huge ball floating in space, moving at the speed of 1,037 1/3 miles per
hour and you haven't felt a bump. You've been here 1 hour, have gone through space nearly 2,000 miles, and you sitting there and didn't even know you were moving. The ride was so smooth. And you're going to compare 747 to the earth? Nobody creates like God. And he has put it above our head and beneath our feet. There's bounty everywhere. There's no reason for us to be in this condition. So let me bring this to a close. Why are we murdering each other? It is because death permeates our minds. And death of the mind is the death of faith. The mind of us is no longer where it should be as it should be. The mind of the human being is buried now in his or her flesh. This flesh body has become the grave of our minds. And in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Why did you say that, Brother Farrakhan? Because God has made a natural relationship between the heavens above and the earth below. And it is the linkage and the relationship of heaven and earth that is giving us life today. Without the light of the heavens, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the earth could not function. But it is the light of the sun that draws the water up from the earth's surface in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect, forming clouds. The sun does that. The moon does that. And as it draws water up from the earth's surface, the water is impure, but the sun pulls it up and purifies it as it pulls it up. And then it forms clouds. And then the wind blows the clouds until it comes over dry, dead earth. And the cloud bursts and water comes down. Seeds already in the earth, so the water causes the seeds to swell. And the light of the sun bearing down on the earth energizes the earth, and the earth goes to work on the seed. The earth don't just lay there and say, "Light me up, baby." The earth works with the light. You didn't hear me? It's a different kind of preaching, I know. And when the earth is energized by the light of the sun, and the earth works with the seed swells and bursts and sends a root down, and then sends a shoot up as a witness of the life-giving energy of the sun and the relationship of heaven to earth. So it is with you and me. God created you, brother, with heaven and earth. And these
Y'all be blessed, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, or for those who will tune in. If y'all like this, hit that like, share, subscribe button. You know, until YouTube let my junk open, I gotta get like 200,000 or 300,000 likes for me to put the comments and stuff back on. You know what I mean? Until then, y'all just listen, man, and be blessed, inshallah. In the name of Almighty God, Allah, the merciful, the beneficent, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and to Him alone do we seek refuge and submit. Y'all remember to keep up prayer for y'all Muslim brothers. Pray 5 times a day, 5 to 7 times a day. You know? Keep on moving, doing the best y'all can, inshallah. Y'all be blessed, my brothers and sisters. Amen.